old-fashioned, out of date. Central Service's new duct designs are now available in hundreds of different colors to suit your individual taste. Hurry now, while stocks last, to your nearest Central Services showroom. Designer colors to suit your demanding taste.
Tomorrow evening, Brazil comes to BBC Two. Set somewhere in the 20th century with a title song from the 1930s, this extraordinary black comedy casts Jonathan Pryce as Sam Lowry, a shy civil servant who escapes from reality in his dreams as a winged hero. Sam's pursuit of a beautiful and unattainable woman lands him in the dangerous world of Robert De Niro, who plays Harry Tuttle, freelance subversive and arch-enemy of the state and its operatives, as embodied by Bob Hoskins, a demented heating engineer, and Michael Palin, an upwardly mobile torturer at the Ministry of Information Retrieval. Director Terry Gilliam, now in Rome shooting his latest film, a multi-million-pound fantasy called The Adventures of Baron Munchausen, described Brazil as Walter Mitty meets Franz Kafka.
Brazil, I think, had been brewing for several years in my brain. I don't know. One of those things that I wanted to get out of my system, and actually as the year 1984 was approaching, I liked the idea of doing something that was possibly doing what 1984 did in 1948. I'd actually done this before Time Bandits. I'd written this thing, and nobody would give me the money. And after Time Bandits, everybody got very excited because it made a lot of money in the States, and so they were keen to give me large sums of money to make films. Rather than doing a commercial film, I thought I'd do the one that nobody would, in any other circumstances, would let me make. And so we pushed on with Brazil. Somebody was just talking one day about what it would be like if my images with Stoppard's words were combined. And I went and talked to him, and he liked the idea. It was interesting because Tom doesn't really collaborate, and it's one of the things that I like doing most, is working with somebody and just feeling the way. And what would happen, he would take the material and work on it, and then deliver this draft, and then I would comment on it. We'd talk about it for a few days, then he'd go away and do it again.
I want to report a wrongful arrest.
You want information adjustments, different department.
I've been to information adjustments. They sent me here. They said you have a form I need to fill out.
Have you got an arrest receipt?
Yeah.
Is it stamped?
Stamped?
No, there's no stamp on it, you see. I can't let you have the form until this is stamped.
Where do I get it stamped?
Information adjustments.
It was brilliant stuff, but it just wasn't quite what I was trying to do in all instances. And I then involved Charles McKeown.
I think that because Brazil had started out such a personal film for Terry, I think for anybody to take it and write it, it's bound in a way in which it couldn't slightly shift in feeling tone. I think Terry needed to once more get close to the script. And that was part of my function, was to, as a writer, to reintroduce him in a sense. And we sat down, we worked for 6 weeks every day through it. And I was compiling slogans to put in the film that one felt as if I were working for some rather strange ad agency, writing lists of odd things.
You're trying to create a world that's very much like our world, but it isn't. It's just off, by 5 degrees. And trying to work out where those 5 degrees were was always difficult to try to explain to the other people involved in making the film. Try to get the sensibility of the thing. I always explained it that it took place everywhere in the 20th century, whatever that means, on the Los Angeles-Belfast border, whatever that means. But it was just trying to, it was always a collage, and it was about juxtapositions. In a sense, it was like doing my cartoons, where I just take images and painting from there, photograph from there, stick them together, and things happen. And I suppose the skill is in choosing what things you put together.
Terry Gilliam comes from a different place than most directors, in that he is an animator, and he shoots film with actors, live actors, as though they are animations. He's looking for the visual the whole time. He's looking at what actors will do within the frame, and he composes it very much the way the classic animators at Disney would have done years ago. And he uses all kinds of wonderful visual jokes. I mean, you've got the running gag of Catherine Hellman's face, which undergoes various transformations with succeeding facelifts. And you have the corollary of that is Robert De Niro's face, which you never really see. I mean, he has an expensive star like De Niro playing a cameo part, and he doesn't even let you see his face, which is wonderful audacity.
Found it. There's your problem. Can you fix it? No, I can't. But I can bypass it with one of these. Fine by me.
Like George Orwell before him, Terry Gilliam is a one-time employee of the BBC. His surreal imagination was first exposed in 1969 with his animated cartoons for the Monty Python series.
I've always had a great distaste for authority and bureaucracy and all of the attitudes that they breed. And yeah, Python definitely had trouble with the BBC, and I mean, they pulled it off after a couple of shows. They were confused by it. They were embarrassed by it. And that's exactly what we're, I think, trying to do. I love cocking a snook at authority. I like I've got a company called Poo Poo Pictures. And the great joy of that company is that lawyers and accountants and very important, serious, reasonable people have to sit down and talk about Poo Poo Pictures. And so there's always been this battle against authority. As the series became more popular, they interfered. And their interferences were always extraordinary because it showed the way their minds worked, not the way our minds worked, the way they would interpret things we had done, which were very childish and innocent, really. They may have been naughty, but they were innocent. And they would interpret them in the most perverted, bizarre, incredible ways. I mean, there was, I can't even probably talk about them on television, the decay in the minds of the people that were supposedly safeguarding the morals of the nation. So all of that has always got to me, yes. And I hate large organizations for the loss of responsibility, and people are corrupted by organizations into cheating and being gray, safe people, and I've hated all of that. And so, yes, that was all part of the world of Brazil.
Look at this. It's a check. It's the refund for Tuttle. Tuttle? No, Buttle. I mean, Buttle. There's been confusion from the word go. He's been overcharged for information retrieval procedures, and someone somewhere is trying to make us carry the can.
Hey, can I have a look? I've never seen a refund check before.
I'll bet it's Jeffrey's. Yes. He always believes that people should pay more for their interrogation, and B, he loathes me. We've got to get rid of it.
Well, send it to somebody else. Better still, send it to Buttle. After all, it's his check.
I've tried that, but look at this. You see? The population census has got him down as dormanted. The central collective storehouse computer has got him down as deleted.
Hang on.
Information retrieval has got him down as inoperative. And there's another one, security has got him down as excised. Administration has got him down as completed.
He's dead.
Invariably, the bad guys are always seen as bad guys on the screen. They look, you know, from the moment you see them, these are villainous characters. And I think the truly evil people are the ones that are the nicest people, that have families, have wives, they've got a job. I mean, they can't help it. He's got to support them, you know. And the only job available, really, is torturing people. And I thought Mike was perfect, because he's the nicest person I know. And it was just casting against type, as invariably works the best, I think. The scene with him and Jonathan Price in his office, that was one of the first scenes we shot, and it didn't work. And then we rewrote the thing. It was basically the same, except we added one thing, and that was his little daughter. and suddenly talking about millions of volts of electricity being forced through somebody's body and all of these things while playing with his little daughter, that made it. And it was that sort of thing that I thought really was blood-curdling.
Tuttle? Well, we're going to have to bring Mr. Tuttle in, aren't we? And interrogate him at the same voltage as Mr. Buttle. And juggle the books and electrical banking.
What has Tuttle done?
We suspect him of freelance subversion.
Freelance subversive?
Then all I need to wrap up the case is the Leighton woman.
What has she done?
Well, she witnessed the Buttle arrest. Since then, she's been going around making wild allegations, obviously trying to exploit the situation. She's working for someone, and I don't think it's us.
That's it. Over there, terrorist.
Good.
Mr. Lind, the next customer has been delivered.
Oh, thank you, Myrtle.
The nightmare became greater, the funnier we were, the lighter we were, the more disturbing the film became as it went along, rather than hitting people over the head with the seriousness of the world we were talking about. The most difficult thing was that we shot for 9 months. It went on and on and on. It was one of those nightmares that would never end.
In fact, the real nightmare had only just started. The Battle of Brazil, as it was to become known, began when Universal Studios, a major investor in the film, refused to distribute the finished picture on the grounds that it was uncommercial. Suddenly, Hollywood became Brazil. And Gilliam seemed powerless in its grip.
Don't fight it, son. Confess quickly. If you hold out too long, you could jeopardize your credit rating.
And he said, you can't fight City Hall. Your career is in jeopardy. You'll never work in Hollywood again. You're taking on the biggest people. I was just dumb. I was just naive and silly. And I just assumed there was such a thing as justice and all of those. And what we did, we started a campaign because they started cutting the film, changing it. They, in fact, put an embargo on us showing the film to anybody in the States. I eventually took out an ad in Variety, a full-page ad saying, this is directed to the boss at Universal, saying, Dear Sid Sheinberg, when are you going to release my film Brazil, signed Terry Gilliam.
Universal finally relented when, after secret screenings, the Los Angeles critics voted it Best Film of 1985.
I actually did something that hasn't been done in living memory in Hollywood. We actually took on the studios, Universal in this case, and we got the film released.
I recall saying at the time, and I think I'd probably say the same now, that it was a bit like lifting the top off Terry Gilliam's head and looking in, replacing it very quickly.
One of the incredible things was that we ended the film. We finally ran out of time and space at Lee's studio in Wembley, and we're forced out of there. And we ended up using a building behind the studio, which turned out to be Her Majesty's stationery office. It was where all the paperwork of Britain was stored. And that's where we ended up shooting all the fantasy sequences. The flying sequences of Brazil were in the storeroom of the paperwork of Britain. And it's those sort of things that were wonderful. It kept happening.
At the same time that Brazil was made, the film of 1984 came out. And 1984 turned out to be a very literal interpretation of Orwell's book. Whereas Brazil, even using in some cases the same locations, just soared into a great cinematic imagination.